If you can manage to get 100k invested by your late 20s or 30s, then you're set for life. Let me explain. Let's say from today on, you start saving aggressively. You follow the strategy that worked for me, you build up that portfolio to 100k as quickly as possible, and you let that money work for you. Now imagine that once you hit that 100k milestone, you stop investing. You don't add a single dollar anymore and never touch that portfolio again. Now obviously, I wouldn't recommend that, but let's do it for this example and just see what happens. If we assume that you started at about 25 and get a 10% annual return, which is just a long-term market average, then by 50, you will literally be a millionaire without doing a single effing thing for 25 years. If you'd wait another 10 years, you'd be closer to a 3 million net worth. Does that mean that you should stop investing at 100k? Absolutely not. If you click this video, then I'm gonna assume you're a pretty ambitious person and you don't want to wait until your late 50s or 60s to retire. But I just wanted to show you what reaching 100k can do for you. Now dude, imagine what your portfolio would look like if you didn't stop there and continued investing. You could easily double or triple that portfolio and retire by 40 or maybe even earlier, depending on your goals. But how do you get to 100k as quickly as possible? I probably made it sound like saving 100k is easy. And to be honest, it can be simple if you follow the right system. I make a lot of videos on my channel covering this topic because I'm really passionate about this. It's amazing how basically everyone can go from $0 to $1 million net worth if they follow the right strategy. I really like watching other people's journey towards that goal as well. Like seriously, comment down below what your current financial goals are, how much you have invested, or how much you want to invest. And if you want to learn more, or maybe you just want to follow someone else's journey, then make sure you subscribe. If I had to start from zero again tomorrow, then here's how I would hit that 100k goal as quickly as possible. I could tell you the obvious things, like cut some of your costs and live below your means. But if you're a relatively young person watching this, then I'm gonna assume your costs are pretty low. You probably don't have a mortgage and still live with your parents. And don't get me wrong, that's a good thing. So costs are probably not the issue, but it's very likely that you do have an income problem. So whether you're still in college or have a job, all your energy should go towards increasing your active income, which is gonna be our first step. Don't even think about passive income. You don't deserve that yet. That comes later. And also, if you have some sort of experience with investing, then you know that it's a long-term game. But once you reach that 100k, that's where the passive income starts to flow in. When you just start out, let's say you have like 5k invested, even when the stock market has a really good year and you manage to get a 15% return, well, you just made $750. And don't get me wrong, 15% is an amazing return, but I'm going to be honest here. $750 doesn't change your life in any way. It probably doesn't even cover your rent. But when you have 100k invested and get a 15% return, you just made 15k and your portfolio actually starts to do a part of the heavy lifting. This is where the effects of compound interest really start to kick in. So that means that when you just start out with the process of investing, you need to focus on increasing your active income so you can invest more and more and more. But what is the best way to increase your active income? Well, obviously, you can improve on your main career path and try to get a bigger paycheck from your 9 to 5. But I don't want to tell you the obvious things to make the video longer. And don't get me wrong, I'm not telling you to quit your 9 to 5. Don't listen to these gurus who tell you to quit your job and just start a business, bro, like it's the easiest thing in the world. Eventually, the goal is freedom and to quit that 9 to 5. But don't forget that a good 9 to 5 can be one of the best financial tools ever. It doesn't matter if you have a bad or a good week at work, you're always gonna get a steady paycheck. That is not gonna be the case when you're running a business. So you need to focus on what you do next to your regular job. When you're young, chances are that your skill set is very limited. You have very little value to offer. You need to obsess over improving your skill set. And the most important skill by far is gonna be sales. And I know you're probably rolling your eyes right now like, of course he says sales. But listen up, it's not a traditional door-to-door sales that I'm talking about, although that could definitely work. But if you think about it, sales are absolutely everywhere. You could sell a physical or a digital product, but the most effective option is selling a service. Managing a company's social media platform, building websites, editing videos or creating thumbnails for clients, creating your own social media content for, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, it doesn't matter. You could make a course or start a private community around one little specific problem that you know how to solve. It could be like an addiction that you beat in the past. It can be something extremely niche. But the most important thing is that you pick one single skill and stick to it until you have completely mastered and even monetized it. And that is way easier said than done because you will get distracted. You've probably heard about the shiny object syndrome, where people drop their current work to chase a new, trendy, exciting idea because they don't see instant results. But let me tell you from experience, that is a real thing, and it will almost completely reset your progress each time you switch to a different skill. But if you can just stick to one single skill and try to improve it with just 1% each day, then before you know it, that skill will transfer into a side hustle that will make more than your 9 to 5. And the best thing about it, even if you lose everything tomorrow, your skill set will always be there. I could talk about this for hours, but it's time to move on. So once that active income starts to flow in, then what do you do next? Well, now it's time to put that money to work for you by investing it. But before we get into the investing itself, there are two things I would always do first. The first one is clearing your debt. And I'm not talking about a mortgage or anything like that. If you owe some sort of debt on a property or a student loan, that is not what I mean. I'm talking about the high interest debt that's literally compounding every single month, like credit card debt or a car payment. You need to clear that immediately. I cannot stress this enough, and I'm gonna be straight up here. If you owe 10k in debt with like a 15% interest rate, then it doesn't even matter how much you invest. That debt will creep up on you and soak literally all your investment returns. I've seen it happen to people. It can literally destroy lives. And also just the peace of mind that you get when you're completely debt-free is amazing. It just removes a lot of stress. So before you even think about investing, clear that high debt interest first. That is extremely important. Now the next thing I would do is build an emergency fund. This means that you save 3 to 6 months of your living expenses and put them on a high yield savings account. It's basically just a safety measure in case of an emergency to protect you against any BS that life throws at you, like your car breaking down or you losing your job. It prevents you from having to sell your investments. And let me tell you, it absolutely sucks to miss out on potential high returns because you had to sell a part of your portfolio. I've been there myself. It's quite embarrassing. I had to sell some of my stocks to fund a speeding ticket. I'm not gonna waste too much time on this, but as you can tell, an emergency fund is pretty important. So now that we are working on our income and have an emergency fund, it's time to start investing. And I mean investing aggressively. I would go as far as to say to invest every single penny past your bills. And I know this may sound uncomfortable, but who cares? You always have that emergency fund to cover those unexpected costs. And remember what I showed you at the beginning of the video. It's insane what 100k invested at a young age can do for you. Now imagine what 200k or 500k can do for you. Always invest first, and after that, you can go spend on the dumb things that you want to do. I don't care. Just make sure you invest first. But now, what do we actually invest our money in? Well, the answer isn't gonna be sexy here, but I personally invest in the boring stuff. I'm talking about things like the S&P 500, an all-world index, or something like the QQQ. Just basic concepts that have proven over and over again to give 10% returns over long periods of time. It's so stupidly simple, but it's so effective. Now, I'm not trying to give you financial advice. You do whatever you want. Just know that most gurus who preach about stock picking, trading, meme coins, or any of that BS make most of their money from selling courses and not the skill itself. And I'm not saying that there are no successful traders, but I will always prefer an ETF like the S&P 500 that has tons of research backing it up. I also really like the simplicity that comes with ETFs. Like I said, I want to spend all my energy on improving on my skill set. I don't want to spend hours each week researching stocks or trying to find the next Bitcoin. For me, investing should never feel like a second job. All I have to do is spend 5 minutes each month to transfer the money from my bank account to my brokerage account and just invest. For those of you that don't know what a broker is, it's basically the platform that allows you to buy and sell stuff on the stock market. Now I could yap for hours about this, but I want to be as efficient as possible with our time. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Seriously, feel free to comment down below what your portfolio looks like and what your financial goals are or what skill you're currently learning. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening and until next time.